Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and it's Wednesday. And with me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome all listeners to Wednesdays. Don't give up. You're halfway to the weekend, and you thought Wednesday wasn't worth celebrating.
Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for that.
Well, why don't we get into the stories while I enjoy my morning cup of brew? What am I drinking this morning?
So today you're going to enjoy some rooibos, cinnamon, chamomile, and a little bit of vanilla.
Oh, yeah. That's
like
some good
that?
brew. That's dangerous.
It's supposed to be cozy because we've been having some really weird weather where it gets kind of colder randomly. So I thought, might as well.
The rain's been nice.
It has been.
Yeah, that's a 4 out of 5.
Well, for any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for prioritizing my daughter's school performance over her emotional well-being after her mother's death? I, 39 male, am feeling conflicted about a recent decision I made regarding my teenage daughter, 16 female, following the death of her mother. I can't help but wonder if I made a huge mistake, so I'm turning to you, Reddit, to pass judgment on whether or not I'm the a-hole in this situation. Since my wife's passing, life has been tough for the both of us. Dealing with my own grief while trying to provide for her has been a challenge. My daughter has been extremely distraught, and I can see how much she's struggling emotionally. However, when she asked me for time off from school to process her grief, I ended up prioritizing her academic performance instead. I'll admit, I've always been a stickler for education, and my daughter is a bright student who excels in her studies, particularly math and science, which are very important, and I wouldn't want to jeopardize that. When she approached me, I couldn't help but think about how it would impact her grades and future prospects. I was concerned that missing school would lead to a drop in her academic performance and potentially hinder her chances of getting into a good college. Instead of allowing her to take some time off, I suggested that she continue attending school and told her that I believed that maintaining a routine and focusing on her education would provide stability and keep her on track. Apparently, my daughter was devastated by my decision. She accused me of not caring about her feelings and prioritizing her school performance over her emotional well-being. She believes that I'm being callous and unfeeling, dismissing her need for time to heal. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for putting my daughter's school performance ahead of her emotional well-being, as she put it, after the death of her mother? I'm genuinely questioning if I made the right decision and would appreciate your honest opinions. Thanks for reading.
Well, we're getting right into the spicy meatballs early on Wednesday.
I want to make a spaghetti.
This is a good start. Spaghetti. Now I want it. Okay, so this one's very interesting because grieving is a personal thing everyone goes through, and you do it in your own way. There is no one right way to go about it. I'm sorry that your wife and your daughter's mother passed. That's terrible. Sounds like this is recent.
As of this post, 2 weeks.
Oh man, this is very fresh. Your daughter's 16. It's tough when you lose anyone. The OP is very honest. They're also still trying to put the pieces together and get through their grief as well. So I guess I would start with, it sounds like you both need to go get into some counseling soon to be given the tools to learn how to navigate through this time, because that's fresh. I can understand as a parent that wanting to prioritize the academics is important, because it does set the future and the pace for your child. I also understand, though, that your daughter asking for some time away so that she can grieve and work through this. If that's the way she's thinking is best for her and her mental health, then I think you should have honored that. It's important. Everyone grieves in their own way. Now, I can completely understand where some people are for some people, it works like this. To be distracted from a problem helps them work through it. That is not how it works for everyone. But yeah, for some people, like in the case of your daughter, it sounds they need to get away from everything so they can find what their new center is. I definitely think you're the a-hole in this situation. It's hard because you're trying to do the right thing in your eyes as a parent. And as someone who lost their partner, I can totally get you're trying to just make sure that everything you can control at this point, you can control and steer in the right direction. So I say a-hole, but it's like, you know what? No, I actually take that back. I don't believe that there are a-holes in this situation. I understand that the OP is going through a rough time and he's just trying as a parent. Getting a little perspective though, I hope, because it sounds like it's happening right now as we're speaking, that you got some good advice from Redditors and you were able to kind of course correct and help your daughter. Yeah, in my opinion, no one's the a-hole. Definitely go get into some counseling though and get the tools so that way you can navigate through this with your daughter healthily.
Well, I definitely respect your choice that there's no a-holes here, because I just see a grieving father and a grieving daughter, each trying to find their own ways through this. However, a lot of the consensus and the moderators put this as he is the a-hole. It's hard to see a good pathway when you're in the middle of a lot of hurt. And reading through some of his comments, I almost can feel the distance that he's putting between essentially his daughter, his grief, and his own reflections on all of it. He admits to commenters that he's trying to deal with his grief. He says, "I'm not handling this fine." He says he was married to his wife for 18 years and that his daughter isn't the only one who had a connection with her.
It definitely sounds like he's got to get himself into some counseling, because you got to redirect that into positive things. And no one is ready for those events in their life.
Never.
So you can't fault him.
I know he says in some of his comments that his daughter hasn't seen a therapist yet, that she can see a school counselor or something, and that he'll look into it. And it almost feels like he's not realizing the importance of needing someone to talk to and to guide you through the levels of grief that each person sort of goes through when they lose someone.
I hope that he was able to get his eyes opened a little bit through some perspective from Redditors.
I know he says his daughter's asking for 3 weeks. And I think, for me at least, one of his callous comments is she wants more time off than has already passed since it happened.
He's definitely projecting onto the situation a little more than he should. I'm sorry that he has those, but like I said, I'm still going to be on the side of he's grieving too. And he hasn't learned how to grieve healthy.
And if anything, I know that there were some commenters. There was one in particular that I was reading through, and she said that at the end of her high school year, her mother unfortunately passed away. And all it took was to talk to her teachers and to let them know that she needed some time. And they were more than happy to go ahead and let her have that time off. And the things that she needed for school, they're just like, just accept a letter grade down and don't worry about it. We're not going to hit you super hard on this because we know you're going through a lot right now. So a lot of teachers tend to work with you as long as you're open and honest about what you're dealing with.
Well, they're humans too. They can understand.
Now, some people, as you said, yes, you're right. They do work well when it comes to grieving and working through it, needing that distraction so that they don't dwell on it too much. So essentially it becomes like a drip for them. They'll think about it. They'll work on something that they feel is productive, and then they'll think about it a bit more and reflect on it, and then they'll go back to their work.
And for some people, that is a good way of working through it, but not everyone is like that.
Exactly. I can only wish these two the best, and hopefully he does listen that they both need therapy on this to be able to work through this grief. Now let me go to another story, and let's see how traditions hold up here. For our next story, am I the a-hole for begging my girlfriend to uphold a sexist tradition just so she can make a good first impression? I have a big family that's incredibly close. We have big family dinners every few months where we all meet at my great-grandfather's estate and eat together. Typically, how this works is that the women go cook for the time they're there, and the men don't, which I am fully aware it's sexist as hell. That being said, I am one of the youngest people in family, and my protests mean literally nothing. Some of those women choose not to cook. However, this is usually met with a level of ostracizing. The women who don't cook are wives and long-term girlfriends, so they kinda already have good family relationship doctored in. When I have seen new partners not cook, it's gone bad, like completely ostracized, not speaking, cattiness, rudeness, etc. This dinner will be in 2 weeks. And my girlfriend was asked if she would attend. Initially, she said yes, which is great. I want for her to meet everyone and for everyone to get used to her being around. But when I explained to her the tradition, she was understandably bothered. I told her that I understood where she was coming from. However, it was best for everyone if she just played along. I told her this isn't a permanent thing and that I am only asking her to do this so that she can avoid bad treatment from the rest of the family. This is her first impression, and I don't think it's best if we cause waves. She told me that it's unacceptable and that if she has to do that, she will not be going. I've tried to find a compromise with her on this, but she won't budge and she's pissed at me. She told me that if I think it's acceptable to make her do this, I'm just as bad as everyone else, while my point is that she needs to make a good impression. Am I the a-hole?
What a splendiferous find. Okay, so OP is very self-aware of how this whole thing works and how sexist it is. Now, it is a family tradition that apparently women, especially the new ones involved into the family, cook, while the others with seniority don't have to.
They've made their way up the pecking order.
Yeah. Which every family has their traditions. It's always interesting to learn about them, by the way, because it is a very unique thing that you get to do within your households. Now, OP understands this. He's seen other partners in his family take this rite of passage, and if they don't adhere to the rules, they get ostracized. And it's just, obviously, in his words, it creates waves. He doesn't want that for his girlfriend, obviously.
He'd prefer to keep her.
He's not going to if he forces those type of expectations on her, though. And that's where I understand from his point, just trying to keep the peace and starting on a good foot. Because I think no matter who we are, if you've gotten introduced to someone else's family, you really do try. You try to make that first impression go as well as it possibly can. I think all of us have tried that at least once in your life with someone, even if it goes against maybe some of your core values and beliefs, and it feels wrong. If you've ever been in that situation, if you've just bitten the bullet and you've had to do that, the feeling that you get after going against what your principles are terrible. So good on your girlfriend for never having to walk through that door. She understands that that's not what she wants in her life, and she's not willing to compromise on her values. Good on you for being that young and that aware. Because I'm telling you, a lot of us, unfortunately, at certain points in life, as you're growing up, it's cringy to think about it, but you do try to fall in line to be accepted. And it's really cool that she's already at that point. And you, as her boyfriend, need to respect that and honor that with her, because if you don't, it sounds like she's just going to walk away, in which I support that. Because if you're just going to keep telling her, don't make waves, fall in line, that's not a good relationship. And you're going to change her, and you're not going to like the person you're with, because the reason why you're together is because you appreciate who she is right now. Definitely be aware of your impact on her, especially when you're trying to force traditions on people. And this is for both parties, men and women. Be careful of how you speak to each other, because you're going to end up turning someone into a robot. Oh, that's the best case scenario. The worst case is they leave you for being a dum-dum. In this scenario, I believe that you are the a-hole. Be supportive. Oh, just because something has always been the way it has been doesn't mean it has to continue to be that way. There can be a healthy give and take. Don't be there to try to shepherd her into something that she's uncomfortable with. And if they don't like her because of that, so what? That's their loss. Don't let your family's tradition get in the way of something that's budding in your life, because it could be a good relationship that you're picking a ridiculous family tradition over. So yeah, you're definitely the a-hole, but a little bit of a-hole. You sound like a young kid. Learn from it.
Well, the consensus is that he's the a-hole. And here's what a lot of advice on the forums put down for this. It was, be the one to break the mold. Go into the kitchen and do something.
I was going to say earlier, like when we have big family gathering dinners, it's usually my brother and I end up cooking most of the big stuff. And I mean, women in the family cooking the little things.
Little side things.
I don't understand why it has to be a woman thing.
Dessert or
we definitely enjoy cooking. Like it should be a not based off gender anymore. I hope that's most people, but yeah, I love watching my brother cook. It's amazing to watch him work with. In
the kitchen, you and I split the duties.
Yeah, definitely.
Where you're my sous chef and you like to cut things and put them all in order, and I can just quickly put it together. Or there are times where I have cut things and let you do the cooking. It enjoyable to be able to do that. Yes. If anything, we've gotten compliments about how well we are compatible in the kitchen together, and it makes me happy.
But we've learned that. That's taken time, but
it's because we wanted to.
Exactly. We're not saying that you just start day one and everything is, copacetic. work at it. If it's something you really want in your life, I think it's enriched our relationship.
Oh, hands
I love
down.
when we pop in and we just know, like, let's do this. We do so many different type of dinners and variations. We actually eat purple carrot, and it's kind of introduced us to a lot of vegan alternatives that we've been introducing into our life, and it's taught us a whole new way of cooking. And I know we're getting way off topic, so we can jump right back in the story. But
If anything, I know in the comment section, we had some women that actually came out and said, we come from what is considered a traditional family. And this traditional being women in the kitchen, men not. They smoke cigars or however, whatever it is that they want to do man things. But when these commenters actually introduced their husbands to the family, their husbands were the ones to push their way into the kitchen and say, listen, I like to gossip too, or I'd like to help.
it's fun being in the kitchen and watching people cook. I enjoy it. That's one of my pastimes. I didn't realize that about myself because I grew up in that type of traditional family where like girls were definitely made to be in the kitchen or setting the silverware or doing that kind of stuff. And we were just kind of, boys were off in their own doing whatever. But I kind of really didn't get that aspect till I was an adult and started being in the kitchen and watching cooking and appreciating that for what it is.
I would have to say, up until a certain point, I was also the same way. I had my great aunt, and she was considered the great cook of the family, and she refused to let anybody into her kitchen to quote unquote mess up her kitchen and make it a disarray. It was her territory, and you never felt like you could just sit there and try and watch or learn or ask questions. It was you're in the way. It's hard to ask somebody to be interested to cook with you.
Sure.
So when you first approached me and told me that you just wanted to be in the kitchen just to watch me cook, I remember thinking, that's got to be so boring. And then
it probably is for a lot of people.
And then we started talking, and then you started helping, and it sort of flowed into this easy transition where now I can't imagine cooking alone ever again.
It's a nice relaxing way to spend the evenings. By the way, equally do dishes.
Yes.
Don't let one person just do the dishes. If you're both are cooking, you're both are doing dishes. If one's cooking, one's doing the dishes. Obviously we're not saying take that and put it in your life. Everyone's different. So whatever works for you works for you. But definitely find the even ground, and cooking is an amazing thing to get involved with your partners.
And there are dirty dishes. So at least split those duties.
Yeah. Well, Pete, it sounds like you have an amazing girlfriend. The things that make her unique and that you love right now can be affected by the decisions of you trying to shoehorn her into traditions. So yeah, just take it as a learning experience and enjoy her for who she is.
I definitely agree with that. Well, let's go ahead and leave this traditional family behind us, and let's go to a pool party.
Let's go.
For our next story, am I the a-hole for causing family drama over a swimming pool? So I know from experience that Reddit isn't the most understanding towards parents of young kids, but I really just want a third-party opinion because this situation is driving me crazy, and my family are saying I need to get over it. I, female 30s, live with my partner and our 2 kids, ages 7 and 3. My older sister, Ava, also females 30, and her husband recently purchased a house in the local area. It's a super nice place with a big yard, and as you can probably guess from the title, a swimming pool. Ava recently hosted a barbecue at her place. It wasn't a huge event. She invited me, our parents, and our siblings. She mentioned letting the kids play in the pool, so I only assumed my kids would get to be included. We are potty training, although my youngest is still in diapers at the moment. At the barbecue, I was getting my youngest ready for the pool by changing him into a swim diaper. Ava pulled me aside and told me that she doesn't think it's hygienic for my youngest to play in the pool since swim diapers don't hold pee, and she asked that he doesn't swim in the pool with the other kids playing in it. I didn't think that this was fair and told Ava that lots of people, adults and kids, pee in the pool, and it would be no different at a public pool. What's the problem? She was being really condescending and wouldn't listen to me at all and said that he can play in the pool when he's toilet trained and said it's not fair to the other kids. At this point, my son was crying because he wanted to swim in the pool, and I told Ava she was being cold, but it's her house and her pool, so do what you want. Ava accused me of trying to guilt trip her and told me to just drop it. I was getting upset myself at this point, and I told our parents and other siblings about what Ava did. They told me it's not a big deal and that it's not worth arguing with her over and try not to let it bother me. I wasn't happy with this because this essentially means they're siding with her and downplaying how she treated me and my son. I left the barbecue early with my family because we didn't feel welcome after that. The next day, Ava messaged me a whole paragraph and said that she's sorry that I'm upset and that she wasn't trying to exclude my son for the sake of it. It was a super non-apology, and I told her I don't want to hear it and that she's damaged her relationship with her nephew and she's not the one who had to deal with him being upset. Ava snapped at me out of nowhere and said I'm being dramatic. I told her to grow up and said I have a very valid reason to be mad. She needs to stop acting like a teenager. Ava showed these messages to everyone, and everything's just a bit up in the air. I feel like I'm right here, but the rest of my family doesn't seem to agree. Am I the a-hole?
Wow. Wednesday.
Is this spicy meatball too?
No, maybe.
Maybe a little one? Mini meatball?
Maybe a mini, but not...
Not quite making it into the spaghetti dish?
Yeah, Okay, so this story initially had me thinking that OP might have been in the right. Because, obviously, the 3-year-old wants to swim. I get it. If I'm a 3-year-old, I want to jump in the water. She is right when she says it's her sister's pool. It's her sister's home. It's her sister's rules. So I can understand the initial being upset about having your kid who is not potty trained, even though, yes, she also states it. There's no difference than if they had jumped into a public pool. It's no different. There's adults that have admitted that they do heinous things in public pools. Yep.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
I'm out.
It's a thing.
No, thank you.
So I understand that part of the argument. What's off-putting here is how the OP has gone about everything since the initial rejection. That part isn't okay. And it almost goes into this whining rant that it devolves into. And then you've gotten everyone in your family involved with something that was very like...
Ava pulled her to the side to talk to her in private
That's
about
a one-on-one thing. Hey, look.
And she was the first one to include the family in it.
Yeah, that's where I started pulling away from her as being not the a-hole, because you really did make a mountain out of a molehill here. And now you've started some other things that she's saying she's completely ruined her relationship with her nephew. He's 3. The only way any of that happens is if you are feeding that to your son. What?
I definitely agree with that.
What are we doing? It's family. She said she didn't want your kid peeing in the pool. I understand all the optics of what we just talked about, but it is her pool. It is her rules. You could have just enjoyed the rest of the day. Yeah, all right, it sucks that the kid didn't get to hop in the pool, but it's one day. You're going to have plenty of opportunities to swim in that pool. You guys are family. He's gonna grow. He's not gonna stay 3 forever. I promise. One day you wake up and they're 16 driving a car and working at a car wash.
Yes.
It happened to us.
It has.
So yeah, I definitely think OP, you are the a-hole. Not for the whole pool situation. It's everything that followed after and how you handled it.
Well, the consensus is kind of split.
Okay.
And a lot of it does stem into she's the a-hole. But there are some of the not the a-holers out there. And they're only saying it because Ava should have let her know well before her kid was being put into a bathing suit.
Okay.
It's kind of rude and a little bit of a faux pas. In the end, it is Ava's pool. And our poster is definitely wrong because she escalated the problem when it didn't need to be escalated.
Sure.
I think this should have been a really good learning venture. Our poster said that the backyard was pretty large. I'm surprised that they wouldn't just run some sprinklers or have a little kiddie pool strictly just for the 3-year-old. I think that would have been a nice little compromise. But since Ava never actually spoke to her sister about this rule, they couldn't make any concessions to sort of fix it.
I guess that was a good way to understand that.
I think I side with the commenters that say, everyone kind of sucks here. Ava for not communicating so that accommodations could have been made properly.
Sure.
And then our poster for escalating and then not respecting the homeowner's choice on what to do in their house. If they don't want, and don't get me wrong, I get it. Kids do pee in pools. I totally understand that. And even adults, disgusting as it may be, also pee in pools. However, the fact that this is her private pool and she doesn't want to have to worry about anybody accidentally having a pee session. In the end, I can understand it from the everyone sucks here. So let's go ahead and walk away from this pool party. Good thing nobody accidentally peed in the pool, right? And let's go into a little bit of magic.
Ooh.
For our next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's not a witch?
I'm ready for this story. I want more of these types of stories. I'm still waiting for a paranormal story.
It'll happen eventually.
Will it? I don't think it will.
I think it might.
All right.
I'll try to make this short. I'm 20 and my sister is 22. She has become obsessed with witch stuff and I thought it was just an aesthetic thing, but she genuinely believes in some weird stuff, has an altar at her apartment, and tries selling blessings and hexes on Etsy. My birthday was recently and she got me a rock. I laughed at first before realizing she was serious. I was pissed because I bought her an iPhone portable charger and she earns more than me. So I snapped at her and said it's all bullshit and she needs a reality check and to find better hobbies. She's been crying to our mom, but am I really the a-hole?
Wow. You are a giant douche canoe. This story has all the makings of a cool one, and then you go and ruin it at the end. Okay, so you did the Michael Scott. You gave a gift, and then when you received a gift, you measured it against what you gave them as it being some type of perceived level of love. And that makes you a bad person. So reassess how you do that, because gift giving has nothing to do with the amount of money something is. Unfortunately, you probably learned that from your parents, so that's some stuff you're going to have to rework through, because those are your values. Those are your base values. That rock was probably really cool. From what I've come to understand, especially through Voyse, all types of rocks have all types of meanings, and they're supposed to do and help you. She gave you that. She probably spent some time thinking about that, because again, they all mean something different. Now, I may not partake in any of those things, but I love when people impart their knowledge about the things that they're into onto me. Like, I ask a bunch of questions. Instead of being closed-minded about what your sister's into, it could be, in your words, witch stuff. Well, I think what you're doing now is setting up a giant rift between you and your sister. And is it really worth that? If you guys really are a loving family, then I wouldn't let something like that get in the way of just being a good sibling. So, yeah, you're a big a-hole in this situation. Stop looking at gifts and things you receive from people on a monetary value system. When we talk about the thought is what matters, that is what you're talking about. So hopefully they took the advice they got from Reddit, because I'm sure this person got dunked on profusely.
I cannot wait to give you my consensus.
DOP is definitely the a-hole.
The consensus is everyone sucks. Yes. So yours and my understanding of gift giving, we've always made sure whatever it is that we've given is always of equal value. Whether it's emotions or the cost of money depends on who we're dealing with.
Okay.
It's no different than Secret Santa. If somebody says to put in $25 worth of a gift, you find $25 worth of a gift. And if that seems to be how your relationships work, especially family-like, then you kind of need to honor that, which kind of makes her sister the a-hole for just giving a rock.
Interesting.
Now,
so are we saying it was a literal like rock off the ground?
She said it was just a granite rock. This thing was not special at all.
So can I just...
You're thinking the crystals,
I'm thinking of crystal,
the pretty
like,
little doodads.
Like one of these bad boys that you gave me a long time ago. You know what I mean? Like something important. I'm wearing it.
And I didn't even know that.
I had it ready.
This is great.
But that's what I'm talking about.
The stars aligned.
I thought that we're talking about a rock as in a crystal or something important. I didn't realize we were talking about... That completely takes
She just says it's a gray, dull, slightly shiny, granite-looking rock. And that's putting it nicely, because you have different looks of granite. Some are like more sparkly. Who knows? I like putting my feelings into gifts.
Sure.
So here's the thing. I keep my expectations extremely low on what somebody gives me, because if you put your expectations high, then if it wasn't what you were wanting, you're going to be disappointed no matter how amazing that gift could be.
Sure.
And I guess the best way I can equate it is let's say I really wanted an office chair, really wanted this office chair, but you gifted me a keyboard for my computer. They're both the same value. Let's say they're both $200.
Okay.
But because I really wanted that chair, even though that keyboard might be great, I will be sorely disappointed because it wasn't what I wanted.
Yeah, if you expressly said that this is what you really want, then I can understand that.
But a lot of people tend to operate that way, where gift giving is this form of expectation from someone else, and therefore the act is truly lost. And it doesn't matter if the gift was extremely thoughtful or if it was expensive or the same value. Once you're dealing with a person of that caliber, if you know the person that you're giving a gift to expects to receive $25 worth of a gift, you will always aim to give them what they want. $25 worth of a gift. No more, no less. And that seems to be the way this family operates and how people are.
Well, that's their values. That's why I alluded to earlier, is that sounds like it was taught to them through their parents, but...
Correct. And if their sister, understanding that, hey, this person got you this iPod portable charger, let's say this gift that she got is $60, and this rock, clearly, you could get it for $10.
Are we talking like she went to the street and picked off a rock? Like, I wish there was more detail on that, because I really did think we were talking about something different. The thing is, the reason why I look at this way is because I grew up not getting gifts. So as an adult, through my life, as I've grown and the family that I have created, when I've gotten gifts now, I don't have any expectations for anything. And if I get something, that's really cool. If I don't, that's also really cool. Like, it doesn't change how I treat people or how I view them or how I expect things from them. I guess I only looked at it through the way I have functioned in my life, where I'm like, hey, you got something? That's really cool. At the end of the day, where this comes in, I think, and what it sounds like is, there's an expectation because that's the way it was for them growing up. So we can have our interjection of how we view things, but it's not applicable to this story because it's not how they grew up and they have an understanding of each other.
Which is why half of the consensus was...
I can get that. I can understand.
The sister for this gift giving, it wasn't what the sister wanted. You know, it probably was nowhere near what they're interested in based on how they're talking.
Okay.
Now, let me go ahead and stem it from this other point of view now. The other half, which is our poster, is an a-hole. She sucks. She's the other half of the suck. She got a gift from her sister. And her sister probably did put some thought into it. There's probably some meaning behind granite, and she probably did.
Well, I would have asked her
whatever good feelings go into this granite rock, and why it is that she picked this shape, and what day she picked it up on. Like, there could be a million reasons as to why she picked this specific rock, but our poster's never going to see it or treasure it like that. So how does that make her look as somebody that's getting a gift? If she gives a gift expecting something of equal value back, that's not very fair, especially if she never put anywhere in her post that she gave clarification on what she wanted as a gift. Now, let me go ahead and read a commenter to our post and our poster's reply.
Oh.
So our commenter said, "You're the a-hole. It sounds like you're more upset about her gift than the fact that she thinks she's a witch. All kinds of people believe really, really stupid BS. Your sister is just another one. If she's happy and not hurting anyone, then it's none of your business. And if you're so shallow that you're upset about the type of gift that she gives you, then that shows you have a problem, not her." Our poster responded saying, "If she's selling fake hexes on Etsy, isn't that harming people? And if they're real hexes, then she's also harming people. She showed me the listings and they're all for revenge and stuff."
Well, what do you want me to say to that? You were only talking about this story and that gift.
In the end, I think because people were saying if her beliefs are harmless, but our poster's saying, look, she's doing these things and hexes are bad. And she's showing me that this is for like revenge and stuff. It's bad stuff. If it's fake, then she's scamming people. And if it's real, then she's actually trying to hurt people. It looked like this whole conversation veered well away from what the topic was, which was she didn't need to go ahead and berate her sister's interests just because her expectation was set too high.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't made clear enough, she should have taken it a little more gracefully, even though she is young, and said, look, I appreciate you trying to give me a gift. This is not in my tastes, and I would appreciate it that if when I give you a gift, you give me something of the same value back, at least monetary, if that's how they want to run it.
I came about this from a very different way than the way this turned out. So that's very interesting.
Yes, it was exciting, wasn't it? I told you there was a little bit of magic here.
There was some magic.
Well, let's go on to our next story. Am I the a-hole for saying no to being my future sister-in-law's bridesmaid? My 29 female brother, 30 male, Tom, is getting married to Kim, 30 female, next spring. I've always liked Kim for Tom. She's supportive of him and kind. She really appreciates and adores him. I'm very happy for them. I've always found Kim a little excitable for my taste, but I'm well aware my taste is irrelevant and I don't see Kim that often as I'm a mom to a young child and I live abroad half the year. With this context, I was very surprised to arrive home from a trip to find a package from Kim containing a bridesmaid proposal. Is that what they're called? Kit and a handwritten letter from Kim asking me to be one of her bridesmaids. I plan to give her a call within a couple of days to let her know I wouldn't be able to do it, citing a busy schedule and the demands of a toddler. Unfortunately, my husband had a medical emergency the next day, and I had to deal with an ungodly amount of admin for the next few days, and it slipped my mind until I was on my way to Tom and Kim's engagement cocktail party at my parents' house. I wasn't going to say anything about it to Kim that night, but the second I got there, she said she was dying to introduce me to the other bridesmaids. And honestly, meeting them and hearing about all the activities further cemented my decision. I pulled Kim aside and told her that I wouldn't be able to be a bridesmaid. She snapped, asking why, at which point I calmly told her that while I don't have to explain myself and didn't appreciate her not respecting my answer, I didn't have time to take part in the activities or dedicate any time to planning or helping her. Kim tried to argue it with me, which drew the attention of some of her friends, so they were now listening in, and I again explained to her that I couldn't do it. Kim then snapped that that's just an excuse, and I can make time for things when I want to, referring to the fact that an employee of my husband got married last year, and I planned and hosted their wedding for my friends. At which point I said yes, but Kim, you and I are not friends. Something snapped, and Kim began bawling. Her intoxicated friend started swearing at me. It was a long night. There is no consensus on whether or not I'm the a-hole for not doing it. Responses range from whatever Kim's friends were saying to why did she even ask you to everything in between. Tom still wants me to change my mind because he says it would make his life easier, but says he won't hold it against me for not taking on the burden. And his opinion is obviously the most important here. It's not that I am holding out just to make his life complicated. I just really don't feel like I can do this, and even if I could, I really don't want to. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add. People keep telling me to add this. The time between receiving the box and the party was 1 working week. I got home on Sunday night, received the package. Monday morning, my husband was taken to the hospital. I forgot everything that happened before that moment for the next 5 days, including being asked to be a bridesmaid. My husband was released from the hospital on Friday afternoon. The party was Saturday evening. It was only on my way to the party, having finally had a chance to think about something other than the possibility of my life falling apart for more than a minute, that I remembered the box. I didn't deliberately wait until the party to tell Kim. Am I the a-hole?
Okay, this one's a spicy meatball, but rational, because she kind of sets the table for us that very last update you gave. She puts this in a perfect frame for us. She's dealing with her husband. She arrives Sunday. Monday, her husband gets rushed to the hospital. And if you've ever been a part of a hospital or any type of situation, she says it. She's been lost in paperwork for 5 days.
And probably scared for her husband's safety.
Every single day. The last thing on your mind is dealing with an invitation. So Monday through Friday, they're at the hospital dealing with a life emergency. She gets home Friday evening with her husband, because he's released. They've got one day between that and going to the party. So they're on their way to the party, and then it dawns on her that she had been invited to be a bridesmaid for her husband's sister. That she admittedly says they don't have that type of relationship. I think that's really awkward for the sister in the situation to have asked that to begin with, because apparently she was looking at that relationship a lot differently than ROP was. She says it, I'm out of the country 6 months out of the year. I don't have that type of rapport with her, and I don't feel comfortable giving her that time because it is an investment. But you have to feel and want those things. I mean, she says it, I don't want to do it. That at the end of the day is where the buck should have stopped. Her reasonings are solid. I don't see why she would be the a-hole now at the party in the middle of the celebration. That's probably the only slip up in my mind is, look, on that night, you know everyone's a little dranky drank. They said it.
But Kim, we're not friends.
See, that's to have been the fly on the wall, to have heard that statement in the middle of the celebration. There could have been somewhere else to have said those things.
All you needed was just an evil laugh at the end of it to be like the wicked stepsister. Oh, sorry, not even. The wicked sister-in-law. There you go.
That was the harsh part of this situation, is you really could have picked a better... There is always a time and a place for everything. That one ain't it. Especially when they're going through the motions of the celebration. You could have just waited, even if it was the day after. It almost sounded like you wanted that smoke.
I imagine she was probably just emotionally taxed.
Well, I bet. She's just coming out from all of this stuff. Did she drink? Did she partake in any of the party stuff?
She doesn't say.
See, because maybe that might have affected it a little bit too. Kim, I'm not your friend.
You're a little inebriated and be like, but Kim, we're not friends.
That's where...
I don't think I slurred that quite well enough. I am definitely not Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, I definitely think that you guys are both the a-hole in this situation. It just could have been handled better on both ends.
Well, the consensus is everyone sucks here. And they say this. The OP is the a-hole for saying what she did. However, the bridesmaid is the a-hole for not accepting a decision that the poster wanted to do.
Sure.
And let me go ahead and provide some comments from the poster herself in answering our Redditors. One of the questions is, what kind of events are you being roped into? You're just a bridesmaid.
What are you talking about, man? The parties and the events that get planned leading up to weddings are crazy.
So let me go ahead and tell you our poster's comment on that. They said there were 6 events already talked about. Night out, dress shopping ×2, a sleepover, a long weekend bachelorette party, and a bridal shower. There were more to come, not to mention 7 months out of the year, I am abroad in various locations. And then some Redditors were wondering, well, what does your brother have to say about all of this? And our poster said, he said he didn't tell her to ask me. He said he told her he wasn't sure it was a good idea, but didn't push when she insisted. He said he figured I would say no, and then she asked, and he didn't have to be the bad guy, and that would be it. And then for the last one, it's essentially, what do you plan on doing now? Our poster said, I always plan to apologize. I 100% didn't handle the whole thing appropriately, and the conversation shouldn't have happened the way that it did. I just wanted to make a decision on whether I would change my mind on being a bridesmaid, as my brother asked, or whether I was going to stick to not doing it. I am for sure going to call Kim to apologize for how I expressed myself because it was crap.
Hey, that's fantastic. It's always good to hear people take the advice, see the perspective, and moving forward, try to fix it where they can. So good for them. That's great to hear.
Well, that was some extras when it comes to family events, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say her brother probably was smart for staying out of it. But let's go to our very last story of the day and see about a husband and wife and an event that's happening in their lives right now. For our last story, am I the a-hole for asking that my husband not share pictures of us?
Sus. Well, let's hear it.
What kind of pictures? Throwaway, since there's some information that would make it clear who I am to anyone who knows me. Friday night, my husband, 28 male, and I, 26 female, went to a nice dinner hosted by my husband's company. The dinner was mainly to celebrate the great year he and his team had, so he was basically the center of attention. I purchased a new white dress for the night. When I put it on before we left, my husband told me that the dress was practically see-through and left nothing to the imagination. I looked in the mirror, and he seemed to be exaggerating, so I told him that it wasn't nearly as noticeable as he was making it out to be. You could sort of see the outline of my bra, but everyone wears underwear, and unless someone was deliberately looking, it wasn't an issue. We went back and forth a bit. I didn't have any other dresses that fit me, as I recently gained a bit of weight and haven't had a need to dress formal. He said he'd rather me dress more casually than wear that. After a bit of back and forth, he gave in, and I wore it. We went to a dinner. I got to meet a lot of his coworkers and bosses. It was lovely. Afterwards, he wanted to make a post on social media about the night and asked me to choose which pictures to include. I saw the pictures of me and my jaw dropped. The flash from the camera and the lighting in general made my outfit way more revealing than it looked in the mirror at home. You can see every roll, every freckle. It leaves almost nothing to the imagination. I was completely embarrassed and told my husband not to post them. He told me that there was no pictures of him without me, so there's not really much he could post from the night. I asked him to Photoshop my outfit a bit to make my dress less revealing, and he said that he doesn't know how to do that. After an argument, I won, and he agreed not to make the post, but he said he still wants to send some to his parents directly. And I'm sorry, Reddit, none of them look flattering. They make me almost look naked. He said since his coworkers and bosses saw me like that, he should at least be able to show his parents as well. I feel like since my husband agreed that the dress was too revealing, he should be understanding that I don't want him sharing pictures of it with family. His coworkers and bosses are one thing. I never have to see them again, but family is family. He thinks that I'm not being fair. In his words, I insisted on wearing the dress, and now I'm preventing his family from seeing pictures because of it. It's now Sunday morning, and he's still not giving in. I want to just forget about the whole thing and move on. He seems to really want to share pictures of the night. I'm not sure what to do, whether I should give up and tell him to send it anyway to put it behind us, or whether I should stand up for myself. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for asking him not to share pictures of us?
Okay, well, this one really is the spicy meatball, because in this story, ROP believes she's right. There are a lot of red flags. So we'll start with the thing that I kind of keyed in on, because she says it several times. This whole notion of him giving in. So it sounds like you're used to having conversations and you getting your way all the time. And so you're not really actually having conversations. You're having arguments where you get what you want and he deals with your repercussions, because he told you how he felt on his night. That was a celebration that was happening in his honor, if I remember this story correctly.
Correct.
He said, and now I can get where you have a partner and they go, how does this look on me? And you may not like the way something looks, but you're allowed to have those opinions and talk about them. He said, hey, I really do think that that dress is a little too revealing. Your response was, your opinion doesn't matter. I'm going to berate you till you give me what I want. Well, you got what you wanted. You showed up to that banquet hall for a ceremony in his honor, dressed like a fool, and you got what you deserved. Your opinion is not the only one that matters in the room. I doubt that he would have said something nasty to you just because he didn't like the way a dress looked. He was being honest and he told you it was too revealing. Now you're telling him that he can't share the memories that he got from something that was being honored for him because of what you wore. That sucks that you put him in that situation. But the only thing you can think about is you. You're selfish. I'm shocked that you took a night that was for him and turned it into you. And then when he goes, look, pick the pictures, you go, no, you're not sharing those memories with anyone because of the way I looked. If you really felt that harshly about the way you looked, now that you're seeing it in pictures, maybe you should have taken it upon yourself to learn Photoshop, if that's what you really wanted. If he said, I don't know how to use it, then you go learn how to do it. It doesn't take a whole lot to learn. Go put up YouTube, put a tutorial on. I promise. There will be some amazing person that will teach you how to Photoshop your terrible dress.
That's how we've been learning.
You can learn. Don't throw your stuff on other people, especially when you caused it yourself. I definitely think that you are a giant a-hole in this situation. Start taking other people's opinions in your life, because it sounds like you only see the world through what you want. And that sucks for your partner.
Well, let me give you the consensus and a few commenters' viewpoints. So the consensus is she's the a-hole. And let me read to you one of the top commenters regarding this viewpoint. You may not be wrong in keeping the pictures offline, but you're the a-hole. This was an important event for your husband. He pointed out the issue with your dress and asked you not to wear it. You wore the dress anyway, so you got what you wanted. Then you see the pictures, and surprise, it's as he stated. You demand he doesn't share pictures, and again, you get what you wanted. He has every right to be frustrated. And now let me go ahead and provide you with another commenter that I enjoyed what they had to say. They said, your opinion is not unpopular. She is not the a-hole for choosing that dress. That was a genuine mistake. You can talk about lighting and how she viewed herself in the mirror all day, but this woman married someone she knows and trusts, but she will not listen to him because she must win. That makes her the absolute a-hole. You can continue spinning this as much as you want, but it shall bring us back to the simple fact that she made her bed, let her lay on it. And I think throughout all of the comments, a lot of people really got upset because they could see she wants to win no matter what, even at the expense of her husband, even at, in a way, disrespecting him.
That is such a critical failure of understanding.
Awareness and empathy?
Like, completely.
Well, it sounds like at least from her comments, that she's just going to concede when it comes to him sharing the pictures with his parents, even though it might be embarrassing for her. And hopefully she learns this valuable lesson that it's important for you to understand your partner's side when they're trying to tell you something.
Yes, their opinions do matter. I'm not saying control someone from start to finish. What I'm saying is hear each other out, talk about it.
I think it's important to understand that both sides need to be heard, and there needs to be a compromise. And a compromise is, in a way, not a win, but it's not a loss. It's just understanding that there needs to be some form of a middle road between two sides. And in a relationship, that's extremely important.
You need it. Compromise is not a loss. That is a very true statement. Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We are regularly posting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We would love to hear your viewpoints and your opinions in the comments section below, because your perspectives is a very nice.
Okay. My wife's Florette. And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.